What's going on? A to Z Sports, Sam Phelan and Easton Freeze here with you live. It is a Friday morning. We are recapping the first week of NFL free agency and all of the moves the Tennessee Titans did. But most importantly, Easton and I are going to talk about what is next for the Titans at two major positions. Talk about that Titans second round pick, which we believe holds the key to solving all of these offseason problems and having a complete offseason. So we'll kind of have a nice debate about where the Titans should go with their second round pick. We'll look at the veteran free agent still on the board to educate that opinion and talk about what is next for this team. Going to be a great show to round out the week. Probably a quicker show than we've had the rest of the week, Easton, but I know you got to get out of here. So we'll make the most of the time. We'll be on it today. So tell the folks what to do.
Yeah, got to like the show this morning on Facebook, on YouTube, if you're watching with us live. First of all, good morning. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you joining us on a Friday. Hit that like button for us. Hit that thumbs up button for us. That is the easiest way that you can be a friend of the show this morning. So like the show, and now we can get into today's conversation.
All right, welcome into A to Z Sports as we do it officially here on a Friday morning. Every weekday morning, we are live at 8 Central Time, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter feed at ATOZ Sports. That's where you can find us on Twitter, X, and repost. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well for more Titans coverage. You can also leave a 5-star Google review for A to Z Sports, which helps out more than you know. Got to thank our sponsors this morning for making the show happen for us while helping out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Boneandjointtn.org is where to go to visit them. And our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law, because a crash can change your life forever. And help is just one click away at bartdurham.com. Okay, Easton, it's been a pretty active week for the Titans. All in all, they've made a good amount of moves to many of the positions of need. They've addressed a lot of the things we assumed that they would address. But I do think they are sort of left in a little bit of this limbo with no real news coming out yesterday besides some broadcasting news. Did you see this broadcasting news?
I did. I heard about it on Twitter and on the radio, and then I saw something written about it. I guess tell the folks what has happened.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and pull it up, make sure I get the details exactly right, because I don't want to mess it up. But we do apparently have a new voice of the Titans to replace Mike Keith. As reported by, a few people in the market yesterday, which was obviously a thing online.
Couple folks.
Taylor Zarzor of ESPN and SEC Network is expected to be the next play-by-play announcer of the Tennessee Titans. While the deal is not official, the deal has not officially been offered. He is the leading name for the job right now, and people are expecting Taylor Zarzor, I hope I'm getting that right.
That sounds right.
To be the next voice of the Titans. How do we feel about this?
Well, we heard that Jim Nantz, who everybody knows, called the Titans personally to endorse Zarzor's candidacy. Zarzor has done a lot of work in a couple of different areas in sports. The Nantz connection, I believe, is through his time working on for the PGA Tour, working with the Golf Network. So he's done a lot of traditional play-by-play, got a lot of reps in that way. He's also done quite a bit of, I believe, college basketball and baseball, football, a couple different college sports that he's done in the Southeast. So the guy is a seasoned veteran. He's a pro. He's got a lot of experience doing this. And from what I hear, he is a great play-by-play voice, which, of course, makes sense for why the Titans are interested in him. I don't know much else about him. I hope to meet him if he is the guy soon. And what a name, right? What a name. I think there'll probably be some nicknames spawned from, the czar, the czar of the Titans broadcast booth. I don't know. But I'm excited to meet the guy if he's the guy. I do wonder, the one question is the same question we've had. How much of Mike Keith's role is going to be taken by him and how much is going to be delegated out to other folks because Mike Keith was doing so much, and no one person's going to be able to come in and take that entire responsibility. I'd imagine Amy Wells on the broadcast side of things, or not the broadcast, but the digital content space side of things will probably continue to pull quite a bit of weight. I think Rhett Bryan in the broadcast booth will be helping out in a big way. So some of those other folks will probably be stepping up and helping take on some of those responsibilities. But in terms of the play-by-play voice of the Titans, it sounds like Mr. Zarzor is the man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not super familiar with him, but as TK says, coming from a personal recommendation from Jim Nantz is a pretty good place to start.
That's fair.
And the Titans doing what I think we expected them to do well, which is go very young at the position. Taylor Zarzor is young in his 30s.
What's his 40? Was he a 5-star?
What?
It's just funny the way you're talking about it. You're going young in the position. Well, it sounds like you're talking about a player.
No, I think it made sense though, right? Like Mike Keith, was at a stage in his career that he was ready to move on, and you didn't want to replace Mike Keith with somebody that you were going to have to replace again in 10 years, right? Like, I think the hope is that
you're totally right about this. You would Mike did it for what, almost 30 years, right? Since the Titans came to town. You want somebody that's going to be a staple of a literal generation, right?
The only way to replace a legend like Mike Keith, which is, as Cap says in the chat, massive shoes to fill. The only way to do that is by building your own brand within the market, right? You're not going to jump in and snap your fingers and be as beloved as Mike Keith. That doesn't happen, right? And Mike Keith had to build that notoriety for himself over 20 plus 30 almost years of doing this job in Nashville. So I think the hope for the Titans was that whoever landed this job would be doing it for a very, very long time, and over time be able to win the fan base over the same way Mike has. Taylor Zarzor, I looked it up, is about 36, 37 years old, estimated by the internet. So certainly on the table for him. Not not too much to say about it, but I feel like relevant news for the fan base here this morning.
Do you think when Jim Nantz calls you, like when he hops on the phone, he opens with "Hello, friends"? Or do you think he hates that bit? Do you think he leans into the bit, or do you think he saves that for broadcast?
I don't know if he leans into it all the way, but I also don't know if you can be sick of the bit because you've created the bit. And if you were sick of the bit, just stop doing the bit.
If you're Jim Nantz, I don't think you have to introduce yourself when you call. Like you can have no caller ID. Call.
Hello, friends. Yeah.
And it's Jim Nantz's voice. Hello, friends. It's like, oh, hello, Jim. I know exactly who this is.
I think so.
That's what I would do if I was Jim Nantz. But anyways.
All right. Well, there you go. That's
there's my take. There's my take. If I was Jim Nantz, I'd be leaning into the bit all the time.
Me personally.
If that
was me in Jim Nantz's shoes.
That's right.
Yes. Well, outside of the broadcasting news, the Titans didn't do anything on Thursday. No transactions were made. It's their first dead day of the offseason after being quite busy on the first 3 days of the week. But Easton, it got you and I thinking about a couple of positions that still need to be addressed and how the Titans are going to address them, because, they still have the second most cap space in the entire NFL. So there's a lot of money still to be spent. And then there are draft picks that could come with that good, young, controllable talent that we know Mike Borgonzi and company are, hoping to use, draft and develop sort of strategy. We will talk about those two positions. Easton and I will give our thoughts on how the Titans should address them. But before we get into it this morning, I'm going to tell you all about something that we all need to address, which is the truth that a crash can change your life forever. But help is just a call away and one click away at Bart Durham Injury Law. You deserve to get paid. The attorneys at Bart Durham are available to meet with you wherever is most convenient, including virtually. You can visit their website at bartdurham.com for current news, blogs, and to contact them or live chat with them. This is why they've been in business since 1975, because they have years of experience dealing with all kinds of wrecks, and they're always available for you. A big truck wreck is their fight for justice. A crash can change your life forever, and Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help and only a phone call away. Visit our guy Blair at bartdurham.com.
There's so much more to say, but first, make sure you are leaving a 5-star Google review for us. Go to Google, search ATOZ Sports, and in the business entity at the top of your screen, you'll see the stars. Hit that one on the furthest right side, that 5th star for us, and then say whatever you want. Your feedback is a gift. We appreciate your feedback, but we'd like it to come in the package of a 5-star review. It's very helpful to us, so thank you very much. By the way, Grim Jim 69 says, "Are Austin and Zach gone?" Been out for a while. Zach continues to be Mondays only. We're new around here. He was on last Monday. He will be on next Monday. And then Austin has been gone for a couple of about 2 weeks now. He'll be back in short order, and he can explain what he's up to. But he is great. He's fine. We are just switching things up a little bit the past couple of weeks.
There you go. All right. Well, we're talking about 2 positions, Easton. I think the 2 positions, one that the Titans have addressed already in free agency, but they probably shouldn't be done at, which is wide receiver and edge rusher. 2 positions that we knew coming in. One addition wasn't going to be good enough because these rooms were just depleted of talent. And especially after the Titans cut Harold Landry, you were sitting there looking at an edge rusher group that was Arden Key and pretty much nothing else. So we know the Titans need to continue to add. They have the 35th overall pick in the draft. If you're assuming that quarterback is what's going to happen for them at 1st overall.
I am.
Yeah, me as well, right?
Me personally, I'm assuming that.
It's kind of how we've been operating all week here. But they have the 35th overall pick. We've suggested potential trade downs. They also have the 2nd most cap space remaining of anybody in the NFL. And so
is that right? 2nd most still?
2nd most right now.
Interesting.
They've cleared up a bunch of caps. So yeah, the Patriots in an effective cap space. I guess effective cap space. The Titans are technically 3rd.
Okay.
Patriots are at 93 million. The Cardinals are at 66 million. And then the Titans at 64 million in effective cap space. So they're up there. The problem is pretty much everybody has there's 12 teams with over $30 million. And so that is where your suck tax comes into play because the Titans are going to have to. It's not like they're the only team with money to spend. There's a lot of teams with the ability to sign players. So we look at this list as well. Here are your best available free agents at edge rusher. Here are the edge rushers that are unsigned right now, highlighted by names like Dante Fowler, Matt Judon, Azeez Ojulari, Zadarius Smith. We've heard these names and kind of talked about these names all throughout the week as potential impact players the Titans could bring in at edge. Here are your guys at wide receiver. There's the high-end names, the Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allens. So Cooper Kupp is supposed to be making a decision here.
The nursing home, one might say.
Correct. That whole left bracket minus Deontay Johnson is a little bit old. Then you have your, I guess you are kind of running out as I look at this list of those middle tier guys that we were looking at, earlier.
It's so bleak, man.
This right column has a few names, the Rondale Moores, Elijah Moores.
Can I interest you in a River Craycraft?
You can't.
What is a River Craycraft? What is one of those?
A bad receiver is what I'm gonna. Is your guy Greg Dortch available? I don't see him here. Did he sign?
Under the guise of night, he may have.
Hang on, let me look up. Let's see. I mean, maybe I didn't get Greg Dortch. Maybe I was
making things up. Was he even available in the first place? I thought he was.
He has been tendered as a restricted free agent by the Cardinals. Greg
get on the horn. Make a trade.
So, yes, that I remember seeing that. I was ready for the Dorcher chamber, and then here we are without
the human Dorch. I wanted it.
Dorch, man.
Simi Fahoku is on that list. I mean, there's some names that sound fake. I mean, we got some real Key and Peele East-West Shrine Bowl names on there.
So we need to have a conversation here. I don't even know where you want to start, Easton, but I do think it's an interesting conversation looking at the money that the Titans have available, that 35th pick in the draft, the clear need to probably add at least one edge and at least one wide receiver and figure out where it should come from if you're the Titans. So I guess if we narrow in on the 35th pick, all right, let's just focus there for a moment, because you talked earlier in the week about the 35th pick, the writing sort of being on the wall for it being an edge rusher that the Titans go with at 35. That seemed to make the most sense with all of the offensive line moves that they had made, shoring up the offensive line. You were thinking that in a deep edge class, you could get a pretty solid edge talent at 35, partner it with, the addition that you made of Dre'Mont Jones, and not too bad. I guess, do you still feel that way? A trade down at 35 is possible. Is there a wide receiver available at 35 that you would not pass up on? And I'll let you start before we open that up to the chat, I suppose.
Yeah, let's start with that question first. What receiver could be at 35 that you're not going to pass on? And by the way, people in the comments, this is a Chobani protein Greek yogurt drink. No free shouts, but I love these. These are great in the morning. I'm going to pull up real quick. I'm going to just rattle off some names because we know the wide receiver. Well, let's start here. Like you said earlier in the week, I talked about how the plan. You still got me? My screen.
Yeah, you're back. You paused for a moment. You're back.
Okay. The plan, it seems, at edge is for them to address it in the draft. And we know that the Titans only have 2 top 100 picks. We know that the first pick is going to be a quarterback. And so at 35 in the second round, it seems likely, given specifically the state of this edge group and how there are going to be first round caliber guys that fall into the top of the second round at the edge position because it's so deep, that they're probably going to end up taking one of those guys if they're there and they like them. And just to name some of them, we know that James Pierce, I mean, if the Titans want to pander extremely hard, they could take James Pierce if he falls out of the first round. We know he has bona fide, frankly, top 10 talent potentially, but there's a lot of things off the field that are lending towards the idea he's going to be potentially falling. And so the question is, how far should they fall? Where should this person be caught by a team? Donovan Izaraku, I believe is how you say it, out of Boston College. That would be a particularly fitting decision to take a first round talent who fell into second round out of Boston College at the edge rusher position to replace the first round talent who fell into the second round from Boston College at the edge rusher position, who you just sent off to New England. So that would be time as a flat circle moment to replace Harold Landry with Donovan Izaraku. Nick Scorton out of A&M is another guy who crazy athletic profile when you compare it to his production, not necessarily great. Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. And you get into like Jack Sawyer, who's a fake second round pick. He's going to fall. No one knows it yet, but he's going to fall. Princely Umanmielen, who's kind of my guy out of Ole Miss. I think he'll be right there at the 35 range. I think that he's awesome. So those are the guys they're going to be considering. What were you
I think there's probably 5 guys that are realistic to consider right around that range at 35 at edge, right? Because I think we can assume safely Abdul Carter, Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, Shamar Stewart. These guys are going to go in the first round.
Mike Green will be gone as well.
Mike Green is also going to go in the first round. They're not going to make it out to the Titans. So I think
looking at edge 6 at best, I think, at 35.
I would be surprised if Pierce was still there, to be honest. I just think the talent profile is enough where somebody one of those.
I won't be surprised either way, to be honest. Like, I have no idea what the deal
Philadelphia Eagles are going to take James Pierce.
You know what? Great point. And I tweeted that in January, and I forgot it by now. But you're so right. He is such an Eagle, and we're all
there's going to be
furious, and it's going to be great for them.
There's always one of those teams that are like the perennial Super Bowl contenders that just have great culture that draft the guys that have like the off the field issues, and then they end up just being great. Unless you're the Chiefs. And
how did we let them get away with this every Thursday night of the draft? It's like, we can't keep letting this team get away with this. That's the Eagles.
Insert Jesse meme from Breaking Bad.
Right, exactly.
But unless you're the Chiefs, and then you end up with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, and then all of a sudden you actually have problems on your hands.
Mm-hmm. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I think the 5 names here are James Pierce, Donovan Ezaraku. I'm not going to try it again.
Ezaraku, sure.
Ezaraku, Nick Scorton, Landon Jackson, Princely Umanmielen. Again, not trying that again.
That's what it is. Umanmielen.
Umanmielen. Those are the 5 names that I think are contenders. I think Princely is probably more of a like long shot at 35. I guess what Princely's stock goes up depending on how many of those guys go in the first round. If 6 or 7 guys go in the first round, then maybe
there's going to be a run on these guys at some point. And the question is, does it come at the late 20s? Does it come in the mid 30s? Does it come in? You know what I mean? Like, you see these runs happen, and teams make their picks contingent on the run that's happening. So.
And so the question that the Titans will have to ask is the edge position and that need and those talents that are there, does that outweigh the possibility of a particular wide receiver? Now, if we look at the wide receiver class, Ed McMillan is going to go in the first round. Duh. I think
I'll go ahead and say it. Matthew Golden is not there at 35.
Matthew Golden's probably not going to get there at 35.
Hundreds of dollars on it.
The next guys are Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka, Ilika Uminor, and
those are the guys we can talk about. Those three are the ones. No, they are not taking. They are not taking Trey freaking Harris at 35. Get lost with that.
We ask the chat, right? What wide receiver would you not pass up at 35?
I'm an old scout.
Raz says Higgins, which Jaden Higgins at 35 would also be, I think, a bit of a shocker. I like Jaden Higgins, but I like Jaden Higgins in the third round and not at the top of the second. Harris or Bond. Isaiah Bond has been falling down draft boards in this pre-draft process. Luther Burden for hashtag QJ. Joe and Eric both say Matthew Golden. I think that's a fair take. I just think that the chances of Matthew Golden being there are pretty low. But if he was there, hey, Eric, Joe, I'm with you.
No, Eric, Joe, take that thought in your mind, physically remove it, throw it away forever. Stop doing this to yourself. It's not happening.
I would agree. It is unhealthy to expect or hope or anything that
friends don't let friends be delusional, and that's delusional. So stop.
I see a Horn here. Jimmy Horn at 35 from Ricky.
Where's Jimmy Horn on the consensus board?
Jimmy Horn on the consensus board is 203.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I've been taking him in the 6th round of my mock draft, so that sounds about right.
That would be a pick for sure.
Who said that? Richie G. Richie G is Jimmy Horn's burner. Welcome to the chat, Richie G.
I feel like Richie G has done this before in the draft. That there was somebody
the world's largest Colorado fan.
There may be. I don't remember what it was, but there's something about Richie G that I feel like I've seen this movie before here. I see Jack Betch from Christopero. I said Egbuka, with Jeff says is going first round, which I think is also very likely.
I'm not willing to bet my life on that one, like Golden, but I'm pretty certain he will be gone.
Caleb wants Egbuka. Egbuka would be a good slot. Egbuka would be a great pick. Just the cerebralness that he brings to the receiver position.
The things that I heard about Egbuka in Indianapolis at the Combine, every team or agent that I spoke to about him, and especially the teams that met with him, just would not shut up about how we love this guy. We think he's like a 30-year-old out there. He's basically a wide receiver coach on the field. He knows everything. He can do everything. He's incredible. He's the team that lands him is going to be over the moon that they have him.
He's going to be really good in the NFL. I think he's not like the most gifted physical NFL prospect that you've ever seen, but I think he's just going to be solid.
His floor is up here, right? Yeah. Where does he come in this draft class of guys that you're most certain will be good NFL players? Pretty high.
Yeah, I think I would bet. You said you would bet the life savings on Matthew Golden going in the first round. I'd bet the life savings that Egbuka is at worst a perennial 800-yard wide receiver that is just a contributor on a good team, and as long as he's in a competent offense, he's going to find a way to find production.
Yep.
I mean, we've got guys throwing out Nick Nash, Restrepo.
Nick Nash. Now that's something I hadn't heard. Holy cow!
These are names that are interesting. Nick
San
Nash,
Jose State's own Nick Nash,
207 on the big board, guys. We're talking about the 35th overall pick.
Bring me Kobe Hudson.
The answer to me, Easton, is I think it's pretty clear. It's any of the top 4. If they're there at 35, I take them. So if Tet McMillan won't be, Matthew Golden won't be, Luther Burden or Emeka Egbuka are there at 35, I make an exception there, no matter what.
Talk about Burden real quick, because he also, just from if we just sat in a dark room and watched the tape of these guys, you and I would be like, oh, well, that's a first-round talent, right? Look at this guy play football. And yet, Daniel Jeremiah and Dane Brugler and all of these guys, and Mel Kiper, and every national insider you want to mention who does a mock draft, Matt Miller, these guys that do their insidery mock drafts, what do they know that we don't know? They've all got him falling out of the first round.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I have done some digging and not figured out exactly if they're there's not some obvious off-field thing that we're like, oh, well, that's why. So I don't know. But to me, I think it's your answer too. Like if Luther Burden is
Granted,
at
there are things.
35, unless somebody's offering me a really tasty trade package, I'm running that card up all day, every day. Bring me Luther Burden.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Granted, there are things with all of these prospects that are
maybe it's medical,
hidden. Not always medical, but there are. I know about one particular prospect in this year's draft that is an elite prospect that will probably go in the top 5 of the NFL draft that has a lot of things that are not public behind closed doors about them specifically. And people aren't talking about it.
This is true.
And it is a thing. And so you don't really know what the full story is, not to put Luther Burden in that bucket for no reason. But it does seem peculiar that he went from consensus top 10 guy.
You're talking about Will Campbell, right? Real shady guy.
Yes, real shady Will Campbell. That's exactly who I'm talking about. It just seems peculiar that a guy who was supposed to go in the top 10 is now like a consensus second rounder. I'm with you. I would run up that card and try to pair Luther Burden with Cam Ward. Like
who needs an edge rusher anyways?
That
we're really, let's be honest.
But that to me is a situation that you make an exception for. Like, correct. Like it is one of those spots where, yes, we want to build in the trenches. Yes, we need to get better at receiver at edge. Like, yeah, sorry. That's a need. But there's something about a rookie quarterback with a rookie wide receiver that you think can be a lethal combo for you for years and years and years to come. 1, that is exciting. 2, that helps an offensive head coach. And 3, that sells tickets that I think I make an exception for. So
Andre asks if Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka, James Pierce,
Andre,
you're there at 35.
Great question. Embrace debate. All right,
you've got 10 seconds. You're on the clock. 10 seconds. Who you picking?
Luther Burden.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Although if you like, if they were like Egbuka, just because we want to be sure, like just to be sure, like
I don't hate that.
Fine.
That would have been I would take either Burden or Egbuka over James Pierce in my opinion.
Agreed.
I take Burden because I think. Right. It's like sort of which path do you go down of like the swinging for the fences path or like the reliability path? To be fair, like you're doing the swing for the fences path at quarterback, most likely with Cam Ward. But I think Egbuka is that like, his floor is going to be high, but I also don't think Emeka Egbuka is ever going to be a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL.
Right.
Probably not even top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, but he can be pretty consistently like, think of like Jordan Addison. That's sort of where I see Emeka Egbuka being.
Think about the prime of Tyler Lockett's career. Not talking about play style, but just the way that they were consistently like, oh yeah, that guy's a baller. Everybody knows he's a baller.
Yeah, Jordan Addison to me, like this was my evaluation of Jordan Addison when he was coming out of USC was this idea that everywhere that he has been, he's been productive. And he doesn't pop off the page in all of these ways physically for you all the time. And so when you looked at him in that draft class, and there were guys like Zay Flowers and Quentin Johnston and those guys that were all in that same tier of wide receiver, to me, Addison was the constant and the other 2 guys were the swings. And so, you could get a real, like Quentin Johnston could have been awesome. He's not. Breaking news.
Oh, no? Really?
But he had the skill set where felt like it was a bigger swing. And I think Addison has been exactly what I sort of expected him to be, which is this 900-yard sort of receiver pretty much year in and year out. That's a very solid wide receiver too, but probably needs to play, and maybe it is more like a Jackson Smith and Jigba. I don't think that's a horrible comp either for
both Ohio State kids, right?
Another Ohio State receiver.
AJ asks, is Pierce the one with the quote-unquote issues? Yes, he is. Bork asks, Burden or Mike Green at 35? So Mike Green's off-field issues bump him all the way to 35. And you're like, oh.
You just blew by.
What
you said Pierce is the one with the issues. That's not who I was talking about.
I know, because we were talking about a top 5 player. AJ is talking about, okay, if he's asking about that, okay, sorry. No. Yeah. But Pierce is also the one with the issues. Also the one with the issues. Those ones way more public.
More public, though. Yeah,
way more public. But yes, good point. Burden or Mike Green at 35? Probably take. I don't know. See, it's one of those things where
I don't know enough about Mike Green. I haven't done
you
I
should
haven't
watch him.
done it.
He's awesome. But you know the thing with
He's
the
one of those
draft where it's
players that
like
I just assume is not in range for the Titans, and so I don't spend a ton of time watching him because
totally.
So
But the thing with the draft that's always funny is, there's always guys that fall, and the further a guy falls, it's the duality of excited that you could get a total bargain, and also what's wrong with them? Like,
yeah.
why is this guy falling? If Mike Green fell all the way to 35, I would be firmly in the really paranoid. Well, I don't know what's wrong with this dude. Clearly, something's wrong with this dude. I'd be scared to take him at that point. So I would probably still take Burden, but also Burden's also a guy that I don't know why he would fall to 35. I really don't. Maybe there's some big thing that comes up and we find out.
That is what I want to say about this whole thing. Like when I look at this big board of receivers, I don't think any of the top 4 guys are going to be available in the second round.
Me neither.
What we learn every year about the draft is that people do this very thing. I think about, what was it? Was it last year? When was Ricky Pearsall drafted? Last year, right?
Last year.
Last year, we had the same conversation about Titans and wide receivers in the second round. And we were looking at Xavier Legette and Ricky Pearsall and all of these names. And turns out so many of them got forced into the back end of the first round that we didn't expect to be forced into the back end of the first round, because teams are aggressive about these premium positions and these skill positions, about getting that extra year of control. And so I think when you look at the draft order and those teams in the 20s, I think you are very likely to see a team like I think we'll see all of those guys go. Burden, Egbuka will go. I think Golden will go. And then I think you're going to see a team push like a Umanor into the first round. I think that's very real.
Right. Yeah. And to your point, it may feel late on Thursday night of round 1, like, oh, it's happening. And then 2 or 3 of these guys go like 28, 29, 32. It's like, oh, well, there they go.
Want to go ahead and address another few comments that I've starred here during the show. We've got a couple other questions about what the Titans should do in free agency. Before we get into that, though, want to talk about our friends over at the Bone and Joint Institute. Some of these players with medical issues falling in the draft, all they got to do is go to Franklin. That'll save their draft stock. Go see the Bone and Joint Institute and don't fumble on your recovery. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust. The Bone and Joint Institute is located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help your recovery, and it's all under one roof for maximum convenience. Clinic, rehab, imaging, surgery, testing. It's all there in Franklin. So schedule your appointment. Go to the boneandjointtn.org. That's boneandjointtn.org for an appointment.
There is so much more to say, but not until you guys help us out with likes on the show. Like the show on Facebook, on YouTube. Again, it is the easiest way for you to be a friend of the show today by hitting that thumbs up button for us. So like the show right now. Thank you very much. We may continue with the show.
I wonder who timed it up. Let us know if you timed it up in the chat.
Good point.
Got it exactly correct. All right, let's talk. So that's the draft consensus, right? Like I think one of those 4 guys makes it there at wide receiver. You take them. If not, I think you're more inclined. For me, it's the second tier of guys. Like you, I think you are far more likely to find a decent edge prospect in the. Let me pull up the big board again because I keep pulling it down and then end up needing it. But I think, I think a Donovan Ezaraku. Yep, Ezaraku. Sorry, I got it right the first time.
And that may still be wrong, but that's what we're going to go with.
Right. Donovan Ezaraku, Nick Scorton, Princely, Umami Ellen. One of those guys, I think, is going to be there and is going to be good in the second round. And I think you're far more likely to hit on one of those than if, let's say, McMillan, Golden, Burden, Egbuka, Umanor are all there, and then you're trying to take a Trey Harris or a Jack Betch in the second round. I think that is more likely. So what does that affect in free agency? Because, again, here's the list of the best available free agent edge rushers. Here's the list of the best available free agent wide receivers. Easton, if I made you choose between one of the 2 positions, edge or wide receiver, for the Titans to address in free agency? Let's say you can add one at either receiver or one at edge, and you don't get to touch the other group. Which one are you doing?
It's easy edge, no question. And that's what makes this such an interesting conversation, right? Because we opened today talking about how it feels like when you look at the draft specifically, oh, edge at 35, that makes the most sense. And the reason why I'm starting to question that presupposition of my own is look at the way that they handled the first of their three big issues that we talked about coming in. They've got to fix right tackle, edge, and quarterback. And one of those things is going to have to be addressed in free agency, not in the top 2 picks in the draft. And they did that with the offensive line. And what I wrote about earlier this week, which you should go read about on A2Zsports.com, is how the Titans did the basic math of comparing free agent availability to draft availability. And they looked at the difference between those things at each position and decided which position to address based on that. And it was pretty clear to them and clear to me that, hey, the tackle options in free agency, while not great, far exceed what we believe this tackle class to be, and certainly far exceed what we're going to be in range to get at this tackle class, because we're not taking one at number 1. And by 35, you're going to be dealing with tackle 5 or 6. And that's really kind of a bleak situation, especially for a guy you want to start this year. So that made sense. When I do that same calculus now with the last 2 positions here with these 2 positions we're talking about now, edge is going to be the easiest to get at 35. And it's also easily the better choice to address in free agency. So pull that edge list back up, because unlike the receiver list, there are some names that can act. I mean, a lot like Dre'Mont Jones, you add and you're like, hey, this guy can make an impact. Azeez Ojulari and Zadarius Smith and Charles Omenihu, Emmanuel Ogbah, DeMarcus Walker still has some juice in the tank. Jihad Ward still has some juice in the tank. Like, there are 4 or 5 or 6 of these guys on this list that absolutely can get 4, 5, 6, 7 sacks this year and have a 8% pressure rate and contribute to your edge rotation in a meaningful way. They need to go get one of them. I think they will go get one of them. And if and when they do, how does that change the math at 35? Because I think it does change the math at 35.
So let's say the Titans go and sign Zadarius Smith in free agency. Where are you at?
One. Like if they add him, specifically him, honestly, what I'm thinking, Sam, is that they are, and I think they are actively considering this, if not maybe actively planning it. I would think they're actively planning on dealing 35 to get a couple of picks. Because we have talked to them. I have asked somebody in the Titans building a couple weeks ago about whether or not they feel like they have to get another top 100 pick. And they're like, we really do feel like we have to. And the only way to do that at this point, if you're taking Cam Ward at 1, is to move 35, which you wrote about, I think, the precedent.
We'll be writing about it today.
Okay.
There is a recent NFL history, recent precedent that lays out the blueprint for exactly how the Titans can solve this entire issue.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye out for that article on A2Zsports.com later today. I think, that would make a lot of sense, because a guy like Zadarius Smith comes in and number one, like, you want to play him, right? You're not looking to rotate in.
He's a starter.
Between Zadarius Smith, Dre'Mont Jones, and Arden Key, like, you've got enough guys that are imminent players that you want to play week 1. And so now Jalen Harrell gets another year of like development, hopefully for you, where you hope he improves a little bit. You can take a guy not at 35, but maybe you take a guy at 45 and you move back a little bit. And, maybe it's not as polished of a player, but maybe it's a guy that, has some upside that you can develop. And that's fine, because now you have Zadarius Smith and you have Dre'Mont Jones. And so there's not as much of an urgency to play that guy. The question that I would ask to push back just a little bit, Easton, is, are you okay going into the season and giving Cam Ward a receiving core of Calvin Ridley, Van Jefferson, and Torrey Horton at 10 whatever pick that is overall?
I get it. I do. I'm not stoked about that, obviously. I do think that, first of all, if you made me choose between a suspect receiving group and a suspect offensive line group, I'd prefer to have a suspect receiving group.
I agree.
And so that's what the Titans have done. They have made that decision.
I mean, but that's what we're looking at, right? If you don't do a free agent and then you are not taking a receiver at 35, you need to reside yourself to the fact that, like, this could be like Bond, Royals, Restrepo, Savion Williams, they might not be there at the top of the 4th round when you're getting ready to pick. And so it might be Tay Felton and Torrey Horton plus Van Jefferson and Calvin Ridley. And that's what,
by the way, you're leaving out Bryce Oliver, which is ridiculous of you.
Bryce Oliver erasure.
It is. I mean, listen, here's the deal.
And Treylon Burks. Hey, let me mention Treylon Burks.
Sure. The Washington model that we've been talking about this whole time, which we'll continue to talk about, that was, you look last year at what they did. It was Terry McLaurin, who's a very good receiver. And then it was Olamide Zaccheaus, Dummy Brown, Jamison Crowder, KJ Osborne, Luke McCaffrey, Noah Brown. Yeah, like that's kind of what I think that's what the Titans are going to be looking at here. So, and that's onus on it's onus on the coaching staff and the scheme to make it work, because Cliff Kingsbury was in his bag all year and made a lot of that work. And so Brian Callahan needs to make it work. So my answer to your question is, are you cool with that? No, I'm not cool with it, but I'm not sure you have a choice.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair rebuttal, because you went 3-14. Like, yeah, you were awful. And part of the job of the new front office is to cleanse the awful. And sometimes that means moving away from players that are even not awful, like a Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Remove the rot. Yeah.
Right. And so now players are gone and there's a lot of turnover happening, and you can't expect a front office to fix everything in one off season. And so I think they're trying to get it to be fine, and it probably still won't be fine. You'll probably still go into, and I agree with Joey here. Ridley is not Terry McLaurin, which is tough, but it's the same model, right? And like we have one 1,000-yard guy, and then
there's some auxiliary players the Titans have that the Commanders didn't, though. Like Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard are better receiving options than, at this point in his career, those guys are better receiving options than Austin is.
No.
Yes. Receiving option? Yes.
Yes, that's Austin Eckler's whole game.
Yeah, not anymore. It's not.
I think that's crazy to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, no. And then the tight ends, I guess, actually Washington has a decent tight end. The Titans have a couple of tight ends of that. But my point being, like, all told, all the receiving options will have to come together if this is the way that they go about it. And the scheme will have to get, because listen, here's the thing. A lot of last year, the Titans receiving options on the field on a given Sunday due to injuries and trading guys and benching guys or whatever was bleak. Mm-hmm. And yet, we'd do tape reviews here on the show on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I'd be like, they're getting guys open. Like, look, there's Chigakonkwo streaking wide open across the middle of the field. Like, if they can do what they did last year, again with a crappy group this year, and they have a quarterback and an offensive line that can actually make the timing work to get the ball there, see it, have time to see it, then you can, like, there was a lot. I guess my point is there was a lot left on the table last year with some pretty crappy receiving groups by the way that the scheme was being run. So you just run it better and everything will be fine. Don't worry about it.
Andre, last thing we'll get to here before good news. It wants to know Savion Williams, Jalen Royals. Do I see any of them being a true number one wide receiver?
Maybe.
I like Jalen Royals a lot.
I like Savion Williams a lot.
The thing with Royals that I would agree with is, like, the thing that made me fall in love with Royals is the body. The body type is really similar to DJ Moore.
Love this guy's body.
I mean, if you look at him, the way that he runs, the way that he makes a guy miss in a phone booth, he should not be able to with that thick of a lower half. But like, it's a really durable body that I think will play in the NFL, and a guy that is explosive after the catch. The issue is he just doesn't know football. With like in not in a bad way, but he comes from Utah State, where he didn't do any complicated sort of concepts.
Yeah,
he didn't come.
It's like the Moneyball meme, where it's like he's got a great body, incredible athlete, great hands. His only defect is he doesn't know how to play football.
I mean, and one thing that I did hear about from a few teams, from multiple teams that had interviews with Jalen Royals, is that what they like about him is that he is aware of what he doesn't know. He knows what he doesn't know, and he's willing to like own it and learn. And so I think the question for teams is, we love him physically. We love the character. you sort of have to fill in gaps of like, is he going to be able to get there with his knowledge of what he's doing as a wide receiver to take him to that next level? I think my expectation for Jalen Royals is similar to my expectation for Jalen McMillan from last year, which is early in the year, you might not see Jalen Royals do a lot. But I think by week 8 or week 9, he's going to be a very good wide receiver for a contending team.
Yeah, the reason why I like Savion, just to address the other half of this comment, is that you want to talk about a guy who's built to be a true X receiver in an offense. It's Savion Williams. And Royals is that way too, but Savion is even more so. Now, Savion, I think, is a less polished technical receiver than Royals is, but his upside is absolutely undeniably higher. And so that's part of the reason why he's going to probably, I mean, listen, he may be a second round guy ultimately, but he'll probably end up being a mid day 2 guy. And it's going to be one of those situations where a team, he may have a rookie year where you're just like, and it takes a year for him to figure it out.
Savion, I will admit, I'm not a huge fan of. And it's nothing like I'm out on him. It's more of like, there are some guys I just don't see it with. And I think Savion Williams confuses me because of how much he is everything that I don't know if I can see him being anything. You know, a lot of his explosive touches in college came as a running back. And so
great. Work says just make him the power back. Awesome. Get the ball in his hands. He's a ball player. Athlete.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I'm looking for a number 1 receiver, not a Swiss Army knife weapon that I can hand the ball to. I don't know. I think there's a chance that he's like very good. Obviously, I think people evaluate him really differently. But I don't see him as
all over it. TCU coaching staff blows.
Sure.
They didn't know how to use them. They blow.
I didn't see, at least watching his TCU tape, a polished route runner that was able to create separation and do much that I think will like, I mean, granted, maybe that's how he's used. Maybe that's the routes he's being asked to run. But that's the things that I didn't see that I did see with some of those other guys, like a Jalen Knoll or a Jalen Royals, who have more of that ability to go run a route, catch a pass, and create explosive plays from the receiver position, and don't need to sort of be like, maybe Savion's Debo, right? He could be Debo.
Awesome. Bring me a Savion Williams. Bring him.
All right. That's all. We're going to go ahead and get to some good news. Easton, I know you got to get out of here, so we'll make it a little bit quick here on a Friday morning. Drop that good news in the chat. Good news brought to you by Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Easton, what say you on a Friday morning about something good that's happening?
My good news is breaking out the sticks today for the first time of the season, going to play a little golf, knock the rust off. Big golfer over here. Love a little golf. So that's why I'm running away, to get to some very important golf this afternoon. It's been a long week. Yeah.
I did not realize that.
I got a condensed work day we got to get to so that we can get some golf in. That's
got it.
So, you know, we're getting to that, and we'll see how it goes. I'll report back to see if it went terribly. It probably will, because I've not even been to the range yet this season, so it's going to be just ice cold.
I have 2 good newses here. I'll do one, then we'll get to the chat, then we'll do my other one. My first good news, because I'm not going to be on the show next Friday, Easton. I'm not going.
Why is that, Samuel?
Good news, because I am a little bit away from, as we teased yesterday on the show, from getting married. So wedding coming up. This is my last good news pre-wedding. So I would be remiss if I did not make it part of.
You and that girlfriend are moving pretty fast. I thought that's kind of crazy. You're already getting married.
Yes.
But no, congratulations. Very exciting.
Thank you.
In Chicago, right? Headed back to the homeland.
We'll be in Chicago. So that I will not have I thought about not doing it because it's like, it's not for this weekend, but like that this good news is taking place.
The time.
I won't have another good news before it. So Caps wants to know, are you good at golf, Easton?
When I'm in golf shape, I'm a 12 handicap, so I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm shooting 85s and just having a good time out there.
If you're sub 90, like that's really good.
If you're sub 90, you're pretty good at golf.
I like sitting around 90 is like my goal.
That's fine.
I don't play very often. I wish I played more, but like when I go out there, I'm like, can I go bogey golf today? That'd be nice if I can do that.
100%.
And that's usually about where I float, give or take a few strokes over or under, but
it depends on the course, depends on the day.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, golf shape, real thing.
Yeah.
Good news. Oldest daughter turns 21 today, driving to breakfast. Congrats, Andre. Very good news. Happy birthday to the daughter there, and have a great breakfast.
The daughter.
Jared says good news. He's not a Giants fan. Yeah, poor Giants, man. Just nothing
Had
else.
Somebody in the Titans building yesterday text me, alluding to the Giants, saying, "Can you imagine if we were picking third in our current situation?"
Yeah.
And I texted back, I said, "Thank God you lost those last
Let's
two
go,
games."
Drew Lock. Let's go, Drew Lock, baby.
Hey, who was it? I think somebody told you months ago, but from the Titans staff, either always win at least 10 games or never more than 3 games.
Lose them all.
Lose them all.
Matt says, good news. Going to be a good Survivor season. Survivor history made on Wednesday. Easton, have you been keeping up with the best show on television?
Yeah. No. That's not my thing, man. No.
Boo.
I've been keeping up with it through your tweets that increasingly make no sense to me because I'm not watching the show.
And I'm loving it. And
I can tell you're having a great time, and I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I thought it would be a little bit difficult to go back to just being a Survivor fan after playing Survivor, and it was for 2 weeks, and now I'm just all the way back, and I'm just pumped every week to watch the episode again. It's just so good.
Was there actual Survivor history made? Something?
Yeah,
exciting?
there was the historic tribal council, the longest tribal council in show history.
Just time wise, it just went on forever.
And they had to vote 4 times. It was a vote style that had never been done before. Lots of different things going on that made for a complicated.
So half the show is tribal council.
No, but we knew, it's an hour and a half episode, and an hour into the episode, we were going to tribal council, and you're kind of well, something's going on. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Doing the math on that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the meta, is always looking at what time it is when tribal council is about to happen. Nick says good news. He had reconstructive ankle surgery and had a screw out on Wednesday. Successful surgery, laid up 2 weeks to watch March Madness. Well,
hey, that's some pro surgery timing though. I think when there's some bed rest coming or some kind of off time, you got to pick a good time. For example, I'm claiming that we chose this. We didn't think about this at the time, but my wife and I had our baby at the very beginning of the Summer Olympics. And so we just did 2 weeks of grinding Olympics, which is very entertaining to just watch.
Well, I played myself. So I'll get to my other number one. Thank you to everybody congratulating me in the chat. Omar, Anthony, Bork, all of you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I have to say, so my other good news, I have one other good news, but it kind of segues into a bad news.
Is your bad news that you're going to be on your honeymoon during March Madness?
Yeah. So my good news.
Get your fiance on here. Tell her that you're really bummed about your honeymoon. So I want her to know.
My good news is that sports are back, because next week we are getting, I think in 3-4 days, whatever, we are getting Major League Baseball regular season Japan series. There's a few, there's a Japan series. The Cubs and Dodgers are playing a few games in Japan. Then it's back to spring training. And then in 2 weeks, the regular season starts. So baseball is here.
How can you not be romantic about the White Sox losing 125 games? I mean, come on.
They lost 121, and they're going to be better this year.
Is that right? Well, the bar is as low as it can be. So congrats on
quite literally.
It was 104 games.
Better.
Okay.
So excited for the sports to be back. Illinois is playing in the Big Ten tournament right now. Feeling good about that. They're going to be in the March Madness tournament. Lipscomb is in the dance. They're dancing in the NCAA tournament. Excited for that. Actually was pointing this out to myself earlier. Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Lipscomb, and possibly Middle Tennessee State, all looking at bids to the NCAA tournament. How's Belmont doing? How's Belmont doing?
I forget. But I've always said Middle Tennessee basketball state. Basketball. I mean,
I would agree.
It's Indiana and then it's Tennessee pretty much when it comes to basketball.
So potentially 4 Middle Tennessee schools, or I guess Vols are kind of a Middle Tennessee school, even though
Tennessee.
It's not.
We'll just say is Memphis. I'm guessing Memphis is a no-go.
Memphis, probably. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'll look it up. I don't know.
I should know that, but I would guess they're not. Although I think they might have. No, Memphis is great. 26-5. Okay, Memphis is awesome.
All right, so just kidding. 5 Tennessee schools.
Yeah, Memphis is rolling. Okay. All right. Hey, Memphis, I'm sorry.
We weren't familiar with your game, Memphis.
Was not familiar with your game, Memphis. So that's all great news. I'm excited for that. And then the downside is that I also picked a wedding date that's in like the heart of all of it. So like I had to apologize to my groomsmen and stuff and be like, hey, fellas, sorry. If the Illinois game is on during the wedding, we're not watching it. Like,
It's
tough. It's tough, but this is what we this is
the things we do for love. Unbelievable.
So, good news and bad news, but excited for the sports to be back. All right, that's all. Easton, we'll let you get to your condensed workday and then go hit the links.
Really important links.
Go check out Easton's condensed workday, A2Zsports.com, and on the social pages as well as we roll out more Titans content, recapping the free agency week and previewing what's to come. Leave a like on the show before you go. And till next week, we will see you later.